Jesus prayed, not for justice, but for mercy. His focus was on his Father and those who needed help the most. It was a prayer Jesus offered up to his Father in the midst of his humiliated state. It might not be a surprise to us to see Jesus praying in the midst of this trial. But to see what he's praying for should bring us to our knees. We can understand if he was praying, Father, strike them dead for what they are doing to me. But yet he prays for those that hated him. He prayed for those that misused him. He prayed for those that rejected him. He prayed for those who deserved to go to hell. He who needed no forgiveness pleads for those of us who are condemned without it. He requested forgiveness for the unforgivable. And church, I don't know about you, but I'm mighty glad that the Lord decided to pray. If I can make this personal, I would say Jesus prayed for me. He had me on his mind. He took the time and prayed for me. I'm so glad he prayed. I'm so glad he prayed. I'm so glad he prayed for me. But then secondly, there's a plea to pardon. Notice what Jesus prayed for.
What he prayed for.
He prayed not for wealth. He prayed not for prosperity. He prayed not for to feed the homeless or the hungry, but he prayed for their forgiveness. The word occurs often in Greek commercial papyrus fragments with the idea of to release from legal or moral obligation, of consequence, cancel, remit, or pardon. The word was used in legal documents to describe releasing a person from an office, severing an obligation, or canceling a debt that was owed. The Lord is speaking of sins as a debt owed to God, which must be paid for. The Lord's prayer asks God to cancel our debts. This plea that the Lord sends up was to cancel your lies, to cancel your sleeping around, to cancel your drugging and your drinking, to cancel your cussing folk out, to cancel your street life, to cancel your pretending in church. Is there anybody glad that the Lord prayed for some cancellation? I can't speak to nobody else, but I'm mighty glad this afternoon that the Lord decided to pray for some cancellation. But then finally, there's a plea for people. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. One would think that the they and the them are those who arrested Jesus. Some would assume that the them and the they are those that called for the release of Barabbas. Surely the soldiers that beat the Lord and whipped him is the them and the they that need forgiveness. Pilate, the priests, and the scribes have to be the them and the they that he's talking about. The Pharisees and the Sadducees should surely be the them and the they that he's talking about. This has to be the them. This has to be the they. But if we were to examine the them and the they a little further, you would discover that when you woke up this morning, you stared at them and they in the mirror. When you got dressed this morning, you was dressing them and they. When you rolled to the side,